Welcome to episode 2 of the Boylan Podcast. It is Thursday, November 1st, and in this episode, we will be sharing with you news and events regarding the Boylan community. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Boylan Podcast.
Welcome, Titan fans, to this week's podcast. Today we will be covering the NIC 10 Girls Swim and Dive Conference Championship, which is this Saturday, November 3rd at Freeport High School. We are your hosts, William Archer and Megan Schrader, and this week we have a special guest, Coach McGuire, the girls swim coach.
Hello.
The Titans look to repeat as conference champs with the help of their 4 returning all-conference swimmers. Boylan has gotten first at every conference meet so far, led by sensational sophomore Nia Karras. The Titans are expected to continue their winning ways this weekend at the conference meet.
All right, so Mrs. McGuire, the Titans have had a great season. How has the preparation for the conference meet been different from that of other meets?
Our training, yard-wise in the water, begins to decrease a little bit, but the sets are a little bit more high intensity, so they get a little bit more rest. For our girls, really it becomes a mental shift, and we need to get them mentally in the right place to be able to be successful.
So almost like tapering.
Yes, we do begin to taper during this season, or during this week.
Okay. Last year, Boylan placed first in conference at the freshman, sophomore, and varsity level, and should be repeating that this year. The team this year includes 4 returning all-conference swimmers, and sophomore Nia Karras, senior Tori Dolan, junior Grace Pitty, and senior Brooke Lombardi. The team also has a returning honorable mention all-conference in senior Libby Frost. Nia Karras is so far having another MVP season, leading the Titans to 9 first-place victories out of the 13 meets they have participated in.
Okay, so do you see a difference in the mood of the girls this week? Do they seem more nervous, more hyped up, more energetic?
Usually when we begin to taper, they are a little bit more energetic. They talk a lot more. They sometimes don't necessarily seem as focused. So it is really important that we begin to kind of rechannel that energy so that they are focused on what the task is at the end of the week.
Okay, so about Nia, she's an obvious leader of the team. She seems to be having another incredible season. So what do you see as her most impressive accomplishments, not only from this year but from last year as well?
Well, I think that she is in the water, obviously, is very skilled, but also she has continuously worked throughout the season to fine-tune some of the very simple and basic skills in order for her to be more successful and to get that upper edge against the other swimmers.
All right, after the conference meet on Saturday, the Lady Titans look to surge into the postseason and perform well at the sectional meet on the following Saturday, the 10th. The sectional swim meet will take place in Byron. The best individual team performers will then move on to state, as girls swim and dive only has 1 playoff round before the state meet. The state meet is Friday, November 16th, and Saturday, November 17th in New Trier. Remember to stay connected to our weekly podcast by following the Boylan Titan Vision Facebook page, as well as our Twitter. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to have you listening next week. This has been the Boylan Girls Swim and Dive Report with Will, Megan, and special guest, Coach McGuire.
Thank you.
Why is everybody cheering and yelling? Stay tuned to find out what all the excitement is about. Hello everybody, my name is Michael Murphy and I am joined by Jack Osborne. The student section is gearing up for the second round against Wheaton St. Francis. This game, everyone is going to be louder and more excited than ever.
We are now joined with Thomas First, one of Boylan's 3 green men that lead the student section in cheering on the Titans at the football game. So Thomas, what is your favorite part about being a green man?
You know, I think my favorite part about being a green man is definitely just how you get to go like all out and like no regrets. You know, I'm wearing a green morph suit. I'm wearing like cut off stuff over that, and it just like you look really like you could say you look ridiculous. Like you obviously wouldn't like. After the games, I want to go somewhere, and I feel like I got to take the suit off so I look publicly like acceptable. But I just think that's so fun to go all out at the games because it just shows how how much you're into it and how much love you have for supporting the Titans and everything. I think that's something I've been about since freshman year.
Yeah,
So-
awesome.
What do you think is so important about the Green Men?
Well, I think it's good that it provides our student section with a lot of organization, I guess, because like they get we call the shots on what chants get done and everything. And I think so since we usually have such a large amount of people at the game, that if we can have people that are like the leaders or the people that look to them to start chants and everything, I think that's why it's very important.
And one last question. How would you become a Green Man?
All right, so it's something that's passed down to you from past Green Men from years before. So I know last year some of the Green Men were like Jack Zuba, Matthew Pearson, Vinny Kelly. I believe Santino, Forcella Bryant was one during basketball. And so I think they kind of get together and they chose me, Nolan McKinley, Luke Stoner, and they chose CJ Cooper, but then he gave it up because he had soccer and was a soccer captain, so he gave it to Carl Anzac. But then I think they didn't really tell us how exactly they chose, but they kind of sent us a text over the summer and said, "Hey guys, like, are you guys all cool with being Green Men?" We were like, "Yeah, of course." And they gave us access to the student section account and everything. So I started running that, and so I don't know exactly how they decided, but I know that it just something that's kind of passed down over the years.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Of course.
Boylan will play against Wheaton St. Francis, the 6th seed, on Saturday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. Be sure to make it out to the game or tune in to our broadcast on Titan Vision. The coverage will begin at 12:45. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our Boylan Podcast segment. I am Avery Saletti, and I'm here with
Joy Goebel, and today we will be talking about student life.
In today's segment, we will be talking about how we balance our student life, which includes jobs, sports, social life, and school.
So Avery, where do you work?
I work at a Japanese garden located here in Rockford. I've worked there for about 2 years now, and I love it so much, and I couldn't imagine working anywhere else.
How much do you work?
I can work anywhere from 8 hours to 19 hours a weekend. I actually worked 19 hours about 3 weeks ago. It was exhausting. And Joy, I know you don't have a job right now, but you're in a sport. What sport are you in?
I'm on the dance team here at Boylan, and I've been dancing here for my whole high school career, which has been 3 years since I'm a junior.
I always see you guys practicing. How much do you guys practice a week?
Every week we practice on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for about 2 hours of practice. And sometimes I practice at home for more than an hour, so on average I practice about 7 hours a week.
And I know the dance team is starting their competition season, so you guys are going to be practicing more for that?
Yeah, usually we have extended practices, maybe even 3 hours long or more days a week to practice. And Avery, I know you're a senior here at Boylan. How has this year been going for you?
Senior year is actually a lot easier for me than last year. My junior year was pretty hard for me, but I can do it. Just ready to make my last year here at Boylan my best year. And I know, Joy, you're a junior. I know junior year was a little harder for me. I know you said it's hard for you right now, but how is your junior year going?
Junior year is getting hard, and some classes are very easy, but others I have a lot of homework in, and I really have to work on my time management.
All right, Joy, I know your junior year will be hard, but I know you can get through it. I know for me, it was hard to balance my social life with school and work, but how are you doing with it?
Balancing my social life I'm pretty good at because I have many friends on my dance team and also in my classes, so my social life is pretty well balanced.
That's good.
And how is it balancing for you?
For me, it's a little bit harder. I think inside of school I do very well. I talk to everyone. I'm a very social person. But outside of school, it gets a little tougher for me. I'm always working because I just stuck doing it. I have to do it. But right now, we're cheering for the playoff games for the football team. Go Boylan. So I'm always with the cheer team. I have some friends on the cheer team, but most of my friends are outside of cheer. So it's a little hard for me to hang out with them, but I do my best to balance my social life and hang out with everyone that I can.
So a tip from this week's segment of Student Life from Avery and I is to manage your time wisely.
Thank you for listening to our B. Boylan podcast segment. I am Avery Saletti,
And I'm Joy Goebel.
and this is B. Boylan.
Hello, Titan Nation. What's going on? It's us, Jake here, to talk about the March for Life today. Today we are joined by our guest, Mr. Fad. Welcome, Mr. Fad.
Thank you for having me. I'll tell you what, the March for Life is one of the most exciting things I've taken part in, and I always look forward to the opportunity to go back.
Now, Mr. Fad, when you go on the March for Life, I hear you guys do a lot of sightseeing. What are the type of things that you see?
Well, the first thing I guess we should probably talk about is the bus ride. The bus ride, I believe, is we go to Mass here at Boylan, and we load the bus right afterwards, and it's about a 14-hour bus ride to Washington, D.C. We leave like at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we arrive in Washington, D.C. the next morning around 8 o'clock. As far as sightseeing is concerned, we do a lot of different things. The first year I went up there, first thing we did was stopped at the Capitol early in the morning. We went to obviously the Mass at the Basilica, the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Awesome building, awesome place. The Mass is one thing that I'll never forget. It was there must have been 5,000 people there, and just the procession of the clergy coming in, which takes about 45 minutes, is just an unbelievable sight to see, and extremely good memory.
So, Mr. Fad, can you tell me what the march itself is like in the atmosphere when you're marching with those thousands of people?
Well, you get up early in the morning and you eat breakfast, then you travel over to the. I want to say it's the. I'm not sure what the field is, to be honest with you, but it's over at the start of the march. It's near the Washington Monument, and it's the mall right there, the mall, and. You gather there, and there's speakers for about an hour, and this starts out about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the speakers are awesome too. They're talking about how they feel about the right for life, and so on and so forth. And then the march starts, and you just kind of wait and kind of try to fall into the march as it falls into the streets, and it's amazing. There are so many people there. There are so many students. I would say. Well over 50% of the participants are high school students, college students, and the excitement that they generate is just a sight to see.
Now, Mr. Fad, do you think this march has an impact on the way people think about abortion in America?
Well, I know it definitely does as far as the people that are participating. What you witnessed at that time, and just the enthusiasm of the participants is something that as participants we go home with, and we hopefully we can share that with our community when we get back, and I think that's the big thing. As far as your general public watching it on TV or following it that way, I don't know if that's done very well, but I do know the important thing is for the participants who participate in the march is to bring that feeling of the right for life home, and share that with their community.
And also, how has the march affected you personally?
Well, it's really affected me as far as my faith life and everything else. It's just the whole experience of going to Mass there with 5,000 people who are all there for the same reason, and to listen to the bishops and the cardinals talk about their purpose and the importance of what we do. It's just extremely important, and it's something that I'll never forget.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fad, for joining us today. The March for Life is a great thing for us at Boylan students to do. We travel to Washington, D.C. to stand up for what is right and what we believe in. This is really a great opportunity for us, as young as we are, to get involved in our nation's politics and learn what it means to be pro-life and Catholic.
This is Jake signing off of the Boylan Podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for another interesting topic.
Welcome, Titan fans, to Under Center with EJ and Joey. We're back with another week of Titan football. Today we will be recapping Boylan versus Gulmar South and previewing Boylan versus St. Francis. Also, we will be updating you on Week 2 of IHSA 5A playoff bracket.
The 8-1 Titans squared off against 5-4 Glenbard South. Boylan is looking to move on to the second round of the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. Boylan got started early with an opening touchdown drive with a 6-yard run by Drake Bergstrom. Next possession, Caleb Henderson picked off quarterback Nick Plasso for a touchdown. That was really awesome.
Yeah.
The whole crowd was going crazy. Even our sideline got a little too excited. They were running on the field too early.
Yeah, that definitely set the tone, though.
We got a flag for that, so
Yeah.
the coaches weren't too happy. Then Caleb scored once again. Luca had the nice 55-yard run, set up really well by his right tackle, whoever that was. Just an excellent block. He had to get all the way out there and what seemed like an 11 technique. Just an amazing block by the right tackle.
When Luca's running in the end zone, though, he gets that little, so excited.
Yeah.
It's so funny to see him after that. After that touchdown, he was so happy.
I don't even know how to describe it. His little legs are moving so fast.
He's so fast.
But Jake scored once again. Trey scored, and Boylan capped off its fourth shutout of the year.
Yep, so some statistics from that game. Nick Plasso, who Boylan was really looking at coming in because he's a big threat with his arm. He threw 12 for 24 with 141 yards, so he had a big night. The rushing stats, the leading rusher for Glenbard South was Antonio Carter. He had 9 attempts for 39 yards. Receiving stats were Trevor Burnett, 4 receptions for 63 yards, and Tavion Keith, 3 receptions for 54 yards. And defensive stats, the leading tackler for Glenbard South was their all-conference player, Gavin Fitzpatrick. He had 9.5 tackles. He had a big night there.
Yeah,
so
he's everywhere.
Yeah, while the score didn't really look like Glenbard South played that well, there were some guys that really had big games. And then for Boylan, Jake Bergstrom and John Stark both split reps like they usually do. Both had 2 completions. Jake Bergstrom for 32 yards and John Stark for 22 yards. And for the leading rushers for the Titans, the quarterback, Jake Bergstrom, again, has been leading. He's been leading the Titans in rushing a few times this year.
He led the team this year in rushing.
Did he actually?
Yeah.
The team, that's insane. For a quarterback, he had 9 attempts for 109 yards. And with all of our power running backs and stuff, that's awesome for Jake Bergstrom.
Shows you how balanced the offense is.
Yeah, and then right behind him was Trey Malone with 9 attempts for 74 yards. And we were talking about it earlier. When you see Trey Malone with the ball, and I know if I'm a defender and Trey Malone's coming at me, it's a scary sight.
220 of pure muscle.
Yeah. He'll run you over.
Especially compared to who we play?
Glenbard South?
Yeah, Glenbard South. They're a running back. He's like 120.
Yeah, it was huge weight difference there. And then the leading receiver for the Titans was Caleb Henderson, 2 receptions for 32 yards. And the defensive stats, the sophomore again leading the Titans in tackling. We've seen that a few times this year, multiple times. I shouldn't even say a few.
Yeah.
Daniel Contreras, he had 4 tackles, and then Tim Fay also tied him with 4 tackles. But Daniel Contreras, the linebacker, moved him up this year, and he's been nothing but
prodigy.
Great. Yeah, he's a great athlete.
Yeah, all around baseball, football.
Yeah, so that's the stats right now for the Titans. Or that was the stats for the Titans in that game.
Oh, wait. We forgot to talk about Tegan Schultz.
Oh, yeah.
Weston Roy had to pick off of broadcast class's very own Jake Mueller's deflection.
We'll give Jake Mueller a shout out right now.
Making big plays every time he gets on the field.
Yeah, the Titans did end that game with 4 turnovers, or they caused 4 turnovers. And this is a big stat that the Titans been relying on their defense. We've talked about it a few times this year. They've rushed for 2,762 yards this year, and they've only given up 558 rushing yards on the whole season.
That's insane.
That is crazy. And you said it already, that was our, 3rd shutout or 4th shutout?
Fourth
shutout. Yeah, the Titans are relying on their defense big, and it's awesome when the offense comes out and plays like they did last Saturday. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we got to talk about that play Contreras made in the open field on Tavion Keith.
Oh, yeah.
Tavion Keith, faster guys we've seen this year, one of the shiftier guys. He'll break your ankles if you're not going to break down, but Conch did a great job in the open field of breaking down and making the tackle. That was really nice play.
You got to give Conch credit there because, I mean, in a player perspective, I was guarding Tavion Keith, and a couple times he shifted me. He's a really quick player.
So this Saturday, Boylan has a home game against St. Francis, and the Titans will host 8-2 Wheaton St. Francis. In the conference, St. Francis went 5-2, but overall in the regular season they're 7-2. They finished 3rd in the Metro Suburban Conference, and last week they beat Edmundson in the first round by a score of 49-6.
Yeah, St. Francis likes to rely heavily on their offensive line. They have very experienced offensive linemen. They all started as juniors, and now they're all seniors. The 2 best offensive linemen they have are Jesse Gonzalez and Danny Skold, and they're both getting looked at to be playing on Saturdays next year. So that's really their main guys they rely on. But you can't sleep on their quarterback, Tommy Rittenhouse. He's a sophomore quarterback, but he can sling the ball. If you watch him, he's throwing the ball 60 yards. He can get out of the pocket quick, throw it on the run. He can scramble and just get yards when needed.
He had very similar statistics to Harlem's sophomore quarterback, James Cooper.
Yeah, and he was tough to play against, too.
Yeah.
He could really throw it. So, and then they like to get the ball to Henry Plamondon. He's their main rusher, main running back for St. Francis. And then Joe Lang's their Mr. Everything. They like to throw him the ball. He's their main receiver to get to, their go-to guy for Tommy Rittenhouse.
Guess you could call him, all right, Mr. Everything, Caleb Henderson, then, huh?
Yeah, you could. But we're going to talk about the 5A playoffs now. Some
16 seed.
16 seed.
Upsetting the number 1 seed. Evergreen Park beats Peyton College Prep 63-34. I don't think many people saw that coming.
Yeah, no, Evergreen Park came out of the South Suburban Conference, and I mean, when I looked at the playoff bracket, I didn't think Chicago Peyton was going to lose. And when I looked at the game, it wasn't even a close one. It was 63-34.
Yeah.
Evergreen Park, that's a big upset, and that's good for them. I mean, a 5-4 team beating a 9-0 team, that's a good thing to see if you're a team like that. So we'll see if they keep continuing. Now they have Emwood Park this week. They're all 8-2. And then, in my opinion, the team to watch out for is Montini. Those guys are coming out of the great conference with what's that? We even know that conference name. I can't remember, but that Chicago conference, they can play. Those teams can play.
Yeah, like St. Rita and Brother Rice. And
those guys can play. So, but they got a big one, Sycamore.
Yeah.
Sycamore's a tough team. They beat Sterling at the end of the regular season this year, so that'll be a good game there.
A couple other upsets. Brooks beat Hyde Park by 8, and then the number 14 seed Joliet Catholic beat Metamore, the 3 seed, 49-20. So a couple upsets in the first round.
The Brooks upset was surprising to me because I've seen a little bit of Hyde Park play, and those guys are good. So Chicago Brooks must have a really good team over there. Cause if they're able to beat Hyde Park, who looked like a very, very good team, that's impressive. What else did we talk about? Hillcrest, they were still undefeated.
Took care of business first round.
Yep, Mount Zion, nice.
Not too many close games.
Yeah, also. No. Other than Mattoon and Mascatoa.
Yeah.
28-24, that was a close one.
And then Carbondale, Champaign Central was 31-28. But other than that,
Joliet Catholic had the big upset, 49-20 over the number 3 Metamora.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, it's pretty normal. All right. Now, St. Francis, we'll go back a little bit about St. Francis while we're talking about playoffs in Boylan. You know, St. Francis likes to pass the ball. They like to throw a lot of bubbles and stops. They have a really good overall team speed. We talked about their quarterback able to scramble. It's almost like when we played Freeport this year, earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Major Dedman was a great scrambler. That's kind of similar kind of players.
Yeah.
The wide receivers are their main weapons, and the quarterback will look to use this Saturday. It's like Glenbard South. And defensively, St. Francis has some young guys defensively. They got a sophomore middle linebacker. But they like to blitz those guys a lot, so I'm sure the Titans will be expecting that. And the Titans' win versus Glenbard South was the first postseason win for the Titans in 5 years. The Titans will host Wheaton St. Francis this Saturday at Titan Stadium. Join us next week for a recap of that game and a preview of Week 3 of the IHSA playoffs. Thank you for listening.
Peace.
Okay, welcome back to This Week in the Fine Arts. I'm your host, John, and today we have a special appearance with Sophie Hernandez, who is involved in the fall production in the theater department of Peter and Wendy. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the theater department and the fall show. So, Sophie, who do you play in Peter and Wendy?
I am Wendy in the show.
Okay, that's great. And then can you tell us a little bit about the show and how it differs from Peter Pan itself?
So yes, Peter Pan, the Disney version is very happy and kind of takes on the magical aspect of it, but Peter Wendy is kind of the emotional sense, so it kind of takes over Peter's kind of emotional outlook about how he doesn't have a mother, and Wendy kind of is that for him. So it's very emotional. You'll just have to come see and find out what happens next.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And what are you guys doing as far as rehearsals right now, and what's the rehearsal process looking like?
So right now we rehearse 3 days a week. We have kind of there's different rehearsals process that we have. So it's a very ensemble heavy show. So we're all on stage a lot of the time. So rehearsals can be very productive. Right now, tonight, we have a kind of 3-hour rehearsal. So hopefully we get some stuff done.
Hopefully you guys get a bunch done. And then The show is at the end of this month, early next month. Can you tell us the dates, please?
The show is November 31st, December 1st, and December 2nd.
Okay, great. We all look forward to seeing you, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Sophie, for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to episode 2 of the Boylan Podcast. Join us next week as we recap week 2 of the IHSA football playoffs. We will also have results from the NIC 10 Girls Conference Swim Meet and much more on episode 3 of the Boylan Podcast.